Pete Francis with Blues Rock Review. Joining me today is Bluhauz, who has a new single out called Every Day. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the call, Pete.
Yeah, so tell me about the name Bluhauz. Where does that come from?
Bluhauz. Well, Bluhauz is basically when I was a teenager, literally we would rehearse in a blue house with my rock band back then when I was like 17. And we had a band called Bluhauz, but we used to write it not the house like a normal house, but Haus. And then I left that band. I went to Berkeley. I had another band called Stone Giant. I did a bunch of stuff for 10 years of studying the bands and everything. So, and Bluhauz is really a new project. It's the first solo project I have from everything I've done. So I was looking for a name. So I said symbolically, I'm going to go back to what made me dedicate my life to this, which was that band. So I'm going to steal the name. I talked to everyone in the band and I said, hey, I'm going to take the name, but I'm going to change the S to the Z. So that's it, Bluhauz. But I see it as an artist name too, not just a band name. It sounds like a band name, but it could be an artist name at the same time.
Yeah, so you're currently based in Miami right now. Where are you from originally?
Originally, I'm from Argentina, but I came to the U.S. I mean, I have family in the U.S. Some of my family members are from the U.S. I've been coming here since I'm a little kid. I've always sang in English, speak in English, and I lived in Boston, New York, and now Miami.
Okay, cool. How did you get into music then?
That's a good question. I mean, I've always been about music, always listened to music. I think I play guitar since I'm like 5 years old. Only at 18, I really started like studying what I was doing. But there was a key moment because I was like a lot of teenagers back then, or even younger as teenager, you would listen to what the radio gives you, right? So I was on Guilty as Charged. I was like Backstreet Boys, The Offspring, Blink-182, Green Day. You remember those times, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Papa Roach, Limp Bizkit, right? But then one time, my uncle, Martin, he lives here in the US. He picked up my iPod when I was a kid, and he's like, what are you listening to, right? And he just went to the computer. He put all the records of Led Zeppelin, Frank Zappa, Jimi Hendrix, Black Sabbath, and I just stayed for a week in his house just listening. And I was like, what is this, And from there, I just switched. And then that's how I became interested in Eric Clapton, in the Beatles, and I learned everything about classic rock, the blues, Pink Floyd, B.B. King, all those names that probably from 14 down I've never been exposed to.
Does Argentina have any sort of blues or blues rock scene there?
Oh yeah. Argentina is known probably as one of the best places to play live, and even big bands like Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, everybody says that because we have this culture kind of like soccer, but we have that vision towards everything. So you go play a show and people are just cheering and even singing guitar parts, like AC/DC did a world tour and they recorded every live performance. And they chose the Argentina show as the show they would release on their DVD because it's just so powerful. And we have great bands. There's this guy, he died, he's called Papo. He opened a show for B.B. King back in the day, and B.B. liked him so much that he invited him to the Madison Square Garden to play a show with him. But yeah, there's actually some really cool rock and roll bands back in the day.
Awesome.
It's a very rock and roll place.
Very cool. So who are some of your influences then?
The classics. I mean, sometimes I'm stubborn. I learn about new bands, but in my own time, I'm still listening to Eric Clapton. Jimmy Page and Jimi Hendrix are the two players that probably just switched my world around, just looking at DVDs from Led Zeppelin live at the Albert Hall, or buying the CDs when we used to buy CDs of Jimi Hendrix. I'd say those two are my main influences, but I pick up influence from everybody, even from today, from Jack White, from Gary Clark, what all these people are doing.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you about your influences today. Anyone else besides those guys that really kind of resonate with you?
Yeah, I mean, everything. A lot of bands from the rock and roll world, then from the blues world, like Joe Bonamassa, like we've talked. I mean, I've known about Joe for quite a while now. I remember even before all my Berkeley years, I used to have this DVD of his concert live at the Royal Albert Hall, where he invites Eric Clapton to play a song. And I would just watch that on repeat. And he's such a powerful guitarist, and there's a huge blues scene going on, right? All these players that play at the Crossroads Festival, Robert Randolph, Tyler Bryan and the Shakedown. I know those guys. We played a few shows together with my other band. I mean, just I could name a lot of players. I'm very like classic when it comes to the typical names: Guns N' Roses, Pink Floyd, AC/DC, the Beatles, Creedence. 10 years after, I'm all about that classic stuff. But I definitely see rock and roll and blues still very much alive. And with this music festival and live concert culture before the pandemic, right? I feel like real music played is starting to become more of a thing, right? Because the more you're exposed to that, the more the artist is also vulnerable. Like, sure, I can put out a tune and do all these things in the studio, but when I do the live show, I gotta bring it, right? And that's something that rock and roll always is known for, right?
Exactly.
Me,
Yeah, the
my
music
amp,
is out there.
my
People just have to
guitar.
hear it.
Yeah, my guitar, my amp. This is what you get. Let's go, right? So
Absolutely.
it has that thing that I love. Yeah.
So people who are new into your music and just discovering you, how would you describe your sound to them?
How would I describe my sound to them? I saw an interview. I don't know who does this interview to Led Zeppelin, and they ask, "How would you describe the sound?" And everybody just stays quiet, and John Paul Jones does you know. But yeah, I mean, I would say I'm trying to make kind of like a mix between the classic rock with the blues, but also keeping it modern. Sometimes with the way I'm doing the production, the mixing, the drums, the bass. I used to be in a band called Stone Giant, which we did a few things, but it was more in the hard rock part, right? And when you write with other people, also sometimes, I don't know, you bring something bluesy, but then the others might have different influences, and then it becomes something else, right?
Right.
So it was much more like a harder rock, different kind of vibe. So now I'm just trying to connect fully to the blues, uh, to the rock and roll that I like. What else? I mean, the album is going to have a balance, right? You need that dynamic balance in an album. Not everything there all the time. So I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely rock blues, but trying to bring something modern, and I think a lot about songwriting. I used to be a very instrumentalist person, but I did songwriting in Berkeley, and that opened my mind a lot. How to put the song first, right?
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about your experience at Berkeley. What did you kind of take from that, and what did you learn from your experience there?
Yeah, the number one thing I learned was from the people. I mean, of course, the class taught me everything. Berkeley was the opportunity to be there among all those people. But I mean, I learned so much about playing. I really learned my instrument. I really learned the theory about music, and after class, you get together with all the people that are in the same situation as you, and you stay up till like 5 in the morning jamming, discovering all your stuff. Those were kind of the first years, and then I went more into the music production and the songwriting aspect of it. So I really learned how to how to record, how to produce, how to write songs, what makes a song work. You know, we definitely have rules in the songwriting world that at the end of the day there are no rules, but there's definitely specific things that you know can work in a song. So when you put this, when you leave that selfish thing of wanting to do the guitar part, or oh no, I can't get rid of this riff because I love it or whatever, you put the song first, and then you start going from there, right? Once you have the song, you go with the production, with the solo, with but everything is the song, right? If I can play any of my songs in the acoustic guitar without the production and it still sounds like a song, then you have a song.
Absolutely.
That's something that I noticed.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Now you're going to be putting out an album in November. You've put out 3 singles so far. Is this going to be a full-length album, or is this going to be an EP?
I'm going all the way. It's going to be, I think it's going to be 12 songs, including Purify My Soul, Give It Back, and Every Day that I already released. The acoustic version of Purify, I'm just going to leave it as something I did, but not in the album. So we're definitely going to see a balance. Actually, the drums were recorded in LA yesterday at this studio called Revival Studios, which is owned by the people of Earth, Wind, and Fire. Remember that band?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have some friends from Berkeley that work around there, and the drummer that used to play with me in Stone Giant. I brought him to Bluhauz, so he did. We were impressed because he did 12 songs in 6 hours.
Oh, wow.
He did one full album in 6 hours. I was like, wow. So yeah. Now I'm in the process of that production. We're definitely going to see a balance of, you know, the slow blues to the rock, Guns N' Roses to kind of more like a reggae rock to maybe a ballad, something for the road, more, you know, more AC/DC. That it's gonna be kind of like everything with the same sound, but you know, there's different phases of rock and roll. And I probably wrote more than 300 demos since the beginning of last year.
Wow.
No, I mean, not finished, no with lyrics, you know, just,
Right. Well, at least like the ideas.
yeah, just open ideas. But when I decided to go solo, I just, you know, I did so many demos to actually find the 12 songs that are going in the album. And if I just start going, I'll just write a whole new songs. And for, you know, sometimes you got to put a pause because I always write something new and I'm like, oh man, I like it more than what I wrote. But that process never ends. You know, you just got to release what you are right now and then just.
Do you ever find yourself morphing like different songs together? You'll take a couple ideas from this song and a couple ideas from that song, and it ends up being its own thing.
Totally. I feel like I used to do that more before. Um, but then talking about songwriting again, you gotta, I mean, establish the identity of the song, you know? I used to be kind of like, okay, now we're gonna do the intro that sounds kind of like Strawberry Fields, then we're gonna go into Young Lust of Pink Floyd, and then the chorus is gonna sound like Led Zeppelin, then we're gonna go into the reggae, you know, and you start thinking like all these things, but when you sit down and you break down the part, you're like, I got 4 songs in this one song. I might as well just pick that idea and make 4 different identities. Sometimes with one riff, you can make a song. If you know how to put that same riff or just those same chords in an intro, verse, chorus, solo, you know, you put it there. and with the production you make it work. But then of course you have more established songs like Pink Floyd or all these people that are kind of like a trip, you know, and that comes from rehearsing with the band too, and kind of trying ideas. So yeah, I do that, but now I'm focusing more on creating like this 3 to 5 minute song identities, you know.
Right, right. So if you could share the stage with anyone, who would you want to play with?
Does it have to be alive?
Let's start with artists who are alive, modern artists
Yeah,
today, and we can work our way backward.
absolutely. From the blues world, I absolutely would say Joe Bonamassa because I mean I've been listening to him a long time. He's a great player. He's been giving me support with the Spotify playlists. I don't know who's been adding them, but that's crazy, you know?
Yeah, just yesterday they put out a new Spotify playlist, and your new track every day is on that, which is pretty cool.
Every song. I mean, the first time was in January when I released Purify My Soul. And I was like looking at my Spotify for artists, and Joe Bonamassa just added, and I'm like, I had to go to Spotify to check that there's not a fake Joe Bonamassa account, you know? Oh, you thought it was Joe Bonamassa, it was Bo Bonamassa, you know, something like that. But it was true. And since then, every song, I released 4 songs, including the Purify acoustic, and they just been supporting all the time. So I would definitely want to blues it up with Joe, with Eric Clapton, with Gary Clark. I really love what Gary Clark is doing right now.
Yeah.
I don't know, a bunch of bands. I really like Rival Sons too. I used to know them way back in Boston before I saw them play for like 300 people in a Brighton Music Hall.
Yeah, I saw them a while back, I think perform in front of about 80 people. This was
Yeah,
after maybe their first or second album. So yeah, they've definitely come a long way, and they're doing pretty well now.
and they've been around even more before you saw them and I saw them. Like, there's videos of them playing like in Europe way back. It seems like they did the long hard road, but it paid off. Yeah, I like all. I mean, from today, I like all those rock and roll bands. Royal Blood. Um, I like the production and songwriting that Black Keys does. I don't know, so many to be honest.
Yeah, as an up and coming artist today, what do you think is the most difficult and challenging aspect of the music business?
Well, the business itself. I mean, you can have such a powerful product and a drive and everything, but if you don't have a team, it's all about teamwork, right? Because when you see the successful projects, I don't know, you win the VMA, talking about MTV Awards, right? Because they were yesterday. Of course, that's super oriented to the pop culture, right? Ariana Grande, Lady Gaga. It seems like they're in their own movie, but that takes teamwork, and you need experts on every aspect. Like if you're looking for that professionalism in your songwriting, in the players, in the production, in the mixing, in the mastering, well, you got to match that professionalism with a PR agency, right? You got to match that with your management. So you got to match that with somebody thinking about how to make this into a business. So it gets hard when it's just the independent process, you know, because you got to do so much. But that should be the goal of an artist, you know, knowing that you can't do it alone, and start working on building that team. There's specific things in the music industry that will get you to where you want to go, right? First of all, like we said, is the music, the songs, the production. It has to sound good, right? Then you need the PR and the press and the social media and all these things we have. You need to be professional with your content, right? The photos, the covers, the music videos. You need to eventually have a label. You need to have a booking agent which books you the shows. You need a management to organize everything for you. You need a publisher that's going to be the one putting you on the Netflix show or whatever you want. I mean, think about the shows. It's become such a multitasking thing that when it comes together, it creates a successful project. You know, and you know how the industry is. I mean, there's midpoints. There's a lot to earn when you're out there. So I mean, I would say it's a challenge, but you can do it. You know, you can definitely do it. It's not something that it's done by aliens. You know, it's doable, but you need a lot of work. You need investment. You know, unfortunately, without some kind of investment, either from yourself or from a close person that you know, or from a label, this hit songs are not hit songs just because there's a hit song.
It doesn't just magically happen.
No. There's, for example, most of the percent, we have this investment, okay? We're going to put 10% into the album recording, but that 90%, we're going to put it into exposing that album. So all the investment and all the resources are being put into exposing this, you know? So there needs to be that everything match, you know? So,
yeah.
I mean,
a lot more than just the music that goes on.
It used to be like that when they sold the vinyls and all that stuff. You had a good record and you're done. You're going to sell millions of copies. But now with Spotify and everything that's going on, it's different. But it's totally, like I said, it's totally doable. Just gotta be smart. And once you have your artistry figured out, then bring someone in the team that can see the business aspect of it, right?
So let me ask you about this, because you're releasing your new album in November. Are you even worried about selling physical copies? Are you going to sell physical copies? Or is it pretty much, hey, we got to get on these Spotify playlists, it's pretty much all streaming now?
I am definitely going to go all the way and just release something that I feel very confident with in all aspects, like we just talked about. You know, all the press, all the management, all the content, the music videos, everything that I'm going to do, the merch. You know, now it's becoming more like cool to sell vinyls. You know, people are wanting to have that vinyl. I mean, you can totally do that. You can make some good money with merch, you know, back when bands used to play shows too. I mean, you get what you get paid for a show, but you also get your merch, and sometimes it's really good. Or you can send out physical copies, or if you can manage to establish relationships between a few local vinyl stores, you know, and you give them your vinyl for them to sell stuff like that, to keep the spirit alive, and to kind of like, there's still like hard on old school people that like that. But if we're talking about that mainstream, and the main focus on listening to music today is definitely streaming. Getting into a Spotify playlist today just switches the game. Spotify is becoming such a strong thing in the industry, to the point that even record labels are scared of them, you know, because they have so much power, and now people can just do things on their own. But the streaming is definitely where it's at. I mean, everybody's just listening in the computer, in their phones. It seems like it's more important now to be on a number 10 on the New Music Friday Spotify playlist and actually go play a show. And think about that. Think about the era we're at, right? I can tour the US now. I can get on a van and tour the US. and I'll play a show in every city for, I don't know, imagine you're a band that nobody knows. You're going to play for 15 people in small bars in South Carolina. Then you're going to go, you know what I mean?
Right.
And by the time you did that whole tour, maybe there's more people listening to your song on the Spotify playlist than what actually heard you in real life.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying this, it's good or bad. It's just different. And you can take advantage of the digital world and become known even before playing a show, right? We can do such a strong PR campaign. We can have such good connections on TV to put the song on a show. We can have great relationship with Spotify, and they put us in all the playlists. So maybe the first show I ever do, I'm talking like hypothetically, right? I'm like inventing an artist. The first show that I ever do, there's gonna be 2,000 people there because like, hey, I know you from that show, or I play that video game all the time, and your song is on the intro, or I've seen you on this playlist, or oh, I love your music video that just hit 150 million views, you know. But you've never seen me in person. You've never seen a show. So you can take advantage of that digital world to grow the fan base, right? But I mean, the road is still out there. The road is still out there. I've seen it, you know, even though the mainstream media and the labels are showing us just 5 artists right now, you know, right? It seems like it's all either Dua Lipa or Shawn Mendes or Lady Gaga or Post Malone, and that's it. But when you go out on the road, there's so much out there in the real world. And I'm sure you've come across this situation. Sometimes you walk into a venue, there's 3,000 people singing the songs of a band that you are like, who is this band? I've never heard of them. And there's like 2,000 people just going crazy. That exists, you know?
Yeah. So before we let you go, this has been great. Where can people check out your music?
My everywhere. I mean, you just put Bluhauz, Bluhauz, on Spotify, on Apple Music, YouTube, SoundCloud, Napster. I mean, everything. You can listen to my songs everywhere. Some music videos on YouTube, but this is just the beginning. You know, we've only just begun in January. I haven't even released the album yet, so I'm excited to everything that can come up with. I appreciate the help you've been giving me since we connected through my first song. So I thank you for that, and more coming soon.
Yeah, well, congratulations. The singles sound awesome, and best of luck with the album coming out in November.
Thank you very much, Pete.